Well, hello everybody and welcome back to the Business Growth Club. This is your weekly edition from us, and in this week's edition we're going to be looking at calls to action. Now, we know that calls to action are absolutely crucial. You know, I've said so many times before that so many sales are lost simply because people are interested and they want to buy, but then there's not a compelling call to action, or it's too hard to make action there and then what happens is you lose the sale. People have found that up to 90% of sales are lost simply because people don't have a compelling call to action, so somebody who would want to buy or want to make an inquiry is completely lost. Today we're going to look at a solution to that problem. The solution is a QR code or a quick response code, as you can see on the screen here, or you might recognise this version, which is probably more popular. Now, lots of people have been asking me over the last 6, 7, 8 months as to whether or not these QR codes, quick response codes, work, how to use them, how to generate them, and are they something just for big businesses or can smaller businesses use them, and those sorts of questions. And we'll be looking at all of those today. Now, as I said, a QR code is a quick response code. For obvious reasons, it allows you to get very quick action, very quick information. They've actually come over from Japan, where they've been in existence for 20 years and they're widely used in Japan, but now they're just starting to spread around the rest of the world, or the rest of the developed world. They're simply barcodes, as you can see from them. They're constructed in a unique way, just like a barcode is, that they store information. Now, that is usually what a URL, a link, a sort of a www.mywebsite.com/information page. So they're usually those URLs, those website links, but they can be anything. They can store, a whole encyclopedia of data. They can store contact information. They can store pictures and images. You're even seeing them in museums now. So that in the olden days, you'd walk into a museum and there would be a platform where you would put on some headphones and press a button, and it would tell you a story or tell you information about whatever's next to the the next display that you're watching or you're looking at. Whereas now you can just scan a QR code and it will give you the information through your phone. So, and that's the crucial point. It is now through your mobile phone. Not every single mobile phone, but all smartphones really. And you just need to download an app. Most of you listening to this will have smartphones, and almost all of you who do will have put this app onto your phone, so you can just simply walk up to these QR codes and scan them. So if you were in that museum I mentioned, you could just go up and scan it and you'd have that information. However, we're not so interested in what museums can use for them, or how larger companies are using them to spread information easily around different sites or different positions on a development or whatever. We're more interested in how we can use it in a business perspective as a call to action. So let's have a look at that. Now, as I said before, it's what I call the 90% problem. People have studied this and said, well, what's a call to action worth? And people have said that it's up to 90%. People have scientifically studied this, and people have been interested in something but not actually taken it forward. Now, you remember this model I've told you about before. The model of, first of all, you get somebody's attention. That's usually a headline and a compelling opening paragraph. Then you build up their interest. That might be through images, it might be through body copy, it might be through some other way of influencing somebody so that they're kind of interested and they want to know more. Then you achieve a great sense of desire. So people want to actually buy your product. So they've gone from being sort of having their attention pulled to you away from something else to being interested. We've developed a sense of desire, and then what happens in 90% of cases is the prospect simply goes away and forgets to do anything about it. It's a forgetfulness problem. Now, why? Because that might sound ridiculous. You might say to me, why would somebody, 90% of these people who are really interested in a product or a service or making an inquiry, why would they completely forget? Well, look at it this way. In the olden days, we used to give somebody just a telephone number. Now, it would be almost impossible for you to remember a telephone number. 0191 54 62 21 is just an impossible number for anybody to remember. You wouldn't remember that. And we thought with the development of the internet and URLs, links, that this would be a solution to the problem, because you can remember www.tesco.com. So we thought that was a solution. However, it's fraught with difficulties. Difficulty number one is you've got to remember the URL in the first place. That's easy if it's Tesco.com, but if it is BobSmithLandscapesUK.com, all of a sudden more difficult to remember. So you've got to remember that. Secondly, you've got to go back home or to your office and remember to type in the URL. So you've got to remember what the URL is, and then you've got to get home and remember to do it. And there's 101 other demands on our time. And then finally, you have to remember the exact spelling of the URL. Now, again, whilst that might sound simple, even if you remember, if you saw something with me which was damonmiller.co.uk, now how difficult is this? Now, you've got to spell my first name correctly, which is difficult because people spell it incorrectly. Now, my second name is spelt with an A, not an E, so all of a sudden that's really difficult, and I wouldn't imagine anybody would ever remember that. And then, was it .net, .com, .co.uk? Do you see, it's just fraught with absolute difficulty. So we thought with the websites it would be a brilliant solution, because telephone numbers can't be memorised unless you've got a sort of photographic memory. So a logical solution was these URLs. However, it's just not turned out that way. I'm sure you've been in this situation yourself where you've been on the tube or you've been on the train or you've read something in a magazine or whatever, and you've seen a company you're really interested in. And you go, on Monday morning when I get to the office, I'll look up that company. And then you go to the office and most of the time you've completely forgotten to look up that company anyway. But if you do go, oh, who were that company? You can barely remember their name, never mind their URL, and it just gets completely forgotten. Or worse still, if that was a company offering IT backup and you need IT backup, but you miss it because you can't remember how to spell the company's name, you just go into Google, type in IT backup, and somebody else gets the business. So you've increased somebody's desire, so they want to buy, and somebody else takes the sale, which is pretty depressing. However, the solution to this problem, at least in part, is a QR code. It helps to solve this 90% problem, because if you remember, the core problem was immediate action. Now that's why we call it a call to action. It's a call to action, it's an immediate response. It's not a call to memorise this to get round to doing it later once you've done all of the other stuff that you're doing. That's not what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be automatic. Now, there's nothing quite so automatic as having something in somebody's pocket that they can just take out and just scan something and instantly they're off to your website. So it removes that need to remember. And if there's anything worse in the world of marketing, it's trying to remember something for all of the problems I've just mentioned. So this can increase responses for up to 90% because, okay, not everybody's going to have a smartphone and not everybody might do it there and then. So it's up to 90%. It's not going to completely solve the 90% problem. But people who are using QR responses are finding that these codes are working very well and they're significantly increasing their adverts. It's something that maybe people have been using and they've been used to a 0.5%, so it's 0.5%, 0.5% response rate for many years, and all of a sudden they're getting a 2% response rate. We are seeing humongous increases like that. So it's not going to solve it completely, but it will go a long way towards solving it. Now, as I've said, it's not going to solve every single problem, but I believe there are certain places where a QR code could be a game changer for you, an absolute game changer. If you can tap into a boredom situation as a boredom solution. Now, we know that there are boredom situations. We know that driving on a motorway is a boredom situation. And that's why we have a boredom solution in a service station that sells a load of sweets and fizzy drinks and that sort of stuff that you don't need. However, you're bored because you're driving for 5 hours, and a bag of wine gums and a can of Coke is all of a sudden a boredom solution because you're so bored of driving. It gives you some stimulation. So we know this is a common business model. Now, I believe we can start to use this as smart marketers in saying, well, where are people bored, a boredom situation, how can we bring a boredom solution? Now, where are we bored? Well, we're bored on the tube, we're bored on the train, we're bored on a plane, we're bored when we're standing in a long queue, or we're bored when we're sat at a sports event waiting for it to start. So if you were to take that last example, somebody who was advertising to football fans in the local football magazine, a sort of program pre-event, and you know people get there nice and early to get their seat, then your advertising could be completely transformed because people are so bored they can't help but swipe your QR code because they want to know more, because they're so bored, they're in a boredom situation, and you are a boredom solution. So whilst a QR response code in so many places will give you a great response because it is a quick response code, it will massively increase that or massively reduce that 90% problem. If you are tapping into a boredom situation, just imagine what it could do. It could almost completely remove that 90% problem because it's so easy and people are so bored. And we know that once we've got someone's attention, we've built up their interest, we've built up their desire, action always takes place, and it's a positive action if you allow it, if you facilitate it. The reason people have this 90% problem is not because their desire or interest disappears, it's simply they forget. And then they've moved away, and then other stuff happens. We know that if you can capitalise on it there and then, people who've studied this 90% problem, if you tap into it straight away and provide that immediate route of response, you don't get a drop-off rate, because once people have got to action, they're ready to take action. You've just got to tap into it. So there is a time and a place where a QR code could be an absolute game changer for you. Now, how does it work? Well, mechanically, I don't know how it works because obviously, why would I know that? All I know is that there are several internet sites that you can either use entirely for free, or you can pay a small subscription. The one I belong to, I think it's about $15 a month. Most of these websites are American. $15 a month is what, about £10 or something. It's not going to break the bank. So mechanically, I don't know how they produce them, but all you do is you go to these websites, and if you look below this video, you will see links to these websites, or you can Google them, and they will give you a quick response code. All you do is you just type in www.mywebsite.com/mylandingpage, and you click generate QR code, and it just gives you a QR code, and there you are. You've got all the information you need. Now, the top one here gives you them for free, so if you're not really looking to experiment too much with this and you just want to get one now after this video, go there. UQR, the second one, gives you interesting analytics. It will tell you who's scanning it, where they're coming from. It's a bit like Google Analytics, so that is useful. And BTag is an even more advanced package, which I probably advise if you do a lot of advertising or a lot of promotions, because it gives you there's just more advanced features, and their website explains all of that. It can become expensive if you go into the top package, but I don't think you need to, but I'll let you make your own decisions. As always, I'm recommending these just because I've experience of them, but I'm not financially responsible for your engagements with them. I've got to say that for legal reasons, but like I say, I've happily used them, so I think you'll do well with these. So straight after this video, just go below this screen, and you'll see these links to these websites, and just go there. Even if you don't want one, go to one of them and type it in and just see how it works and how easy it is for you to get a unique quick response code. This is what you get, and if you were to scan this, it would send you to a seminar booking page on my website. What it gives you is it either gives you that physical image on the right hand side, so if you go to one of those websites and type in your details, it will give you that physical unique barcode, or it will give you that code on the right hand side, which you can use obviously for your website people or whatever. And this one takes you to a particular page on my website, so it doesn't just have to be to your homepage. So it's not just www.mywebsite.com. It can be mywebsite.com/seminar promotion page, or whatever page you happen to have. So that's what one of those websites will give you. And you can send that image there, you can save it as an image and send it to your web designer, or if you're sending a letter or you do it in-house, you can copy it, or if it's online, you can do it in that fashion. Now, what can you use quick response codes for? As I said, I believe that an absolute sweet spot for these is a boredom solution in a boredom situation. I believe you could do incredible stuff there, and I'm working with a few people to do that now. Certain places where we know people are incredibly bored, and you could have a massive response. So that's an obvious one. That's the sweet spot. That's going to be the quickest, most beautiful way of just making some great money out of these codes. However, at least until the novelty wears off. However, for now, a lot of you might not see that problem, and you can probably optimize your existing marketing. So you can add one to your sales letters or postcards. So instead of saying, give us a call or go to our website, just make it easy for them and just swipe it and just scan it and they're there. It's really easy to put these on a sales letter and a postcard. It will work really well. So, and it will take up no space as well. You can reduce these down quite small and they can still be scanned. As part of a print advert, I think this is absolutely essential. There's a huge problem, particularly when you're doing trade advertising or you're doing magazine advertising. So say it's a trade advert like the Lawyer magazine, or it's a magazine such as Fisherman's Weekly. People always read that. You tend to have niche advertisements, so people are really interested. You've got a target market with a target product, so you've got this niche product marriage, so it's all working really well. However, people tend to read these magazines when they're on the train, or whilst they're waiting for the kettle to boil, or whatever. They're kind of an in-between read. Nobody sits down to read these like they do a book. They kind of do them in a situation where they're trying to kill a bit of time. So that's not the time when they're sat there near a computer ready to type in your website address. So, if you're doing those types of print adverts, that'll work really well. The same with newspaper advertisements. I think if you're still running those, it could work really well. You could definitely add it onto your contact page on a flyer or a leaflet, and it can take them straight there, maybe straight to even a data capture page. So leaflets and flyer drops and that sort of stuff you do, it will work there. And then why not on your standard stationery, so your business card, or your letterhead, or your compliment slips or whatever. You could use them on a promotional voucher or coupons. I'm always talking about special offer coupons or referral vouchers, which work brilliantly. Why not have a direct response there and then in that QR code and get them straight onto your website? Now, we all know the power of teaser copy on envelopes when you're doing direct mail, particularly to consumers. Well, cut out the need to open the envelope. Special gift here and just scan the QR code. If you tap into this in the next 12 months, when these things are just starting to become popular, but they're not being used on a huge widespread scale, so you've probably got a 12-month window of opportunity, you can probably tap into a huge lot of this novelty value. So if you use it on your envelopes for the next 12 months, you might have a brilliant 12 months. And then, of course, the effect might wear off. And knowing technology, there'll be a new technology just to take its place. But if you do it in the next 12 months for stuff like this, I believe it can seriously work. As I just mentioned, you can take people directly to a buy now page or an email sign up page or a data capture page. So it works brilliantly. How about on your proposals as well? I did this recently where I sent somebody a proposal, but I also gave them some video bonuses which explained a lot more about the ideas in the proposal. The proposal I gave them was for a certain system we were going to implement for them, but I also gave them a quick response code to send them to a video hosted on the website that explained the system we would implement. In general terms, it was a recording of a webinar I'd given, and it probably positioned us as a lot more interesting. It probably showed that we were a lot more interested in the business and a lot more professional, and it had a novelty value, and it made us more memorable, and that worked quite well. So there's just numerous uses for it. It's almost all the marketing you're doing, you can be tapping this along with it. Now, it's also useful because, as I mentioned in the beginning, it's not just about sending people to a website address. You can also have information. So this can allow somebody to swipe your details, and it can add their information straight to from your business card perhaps, straight to their mobile phone contacts. So when you're at a conference and you agree that somebody will give you a call tomorrow, how powerful would it be if you could just get them to swipe your details and save it in their phone? Or they could connect with you directly on the social media, so follow you or go to your LinkedIn page or whatever. Now, there's a link to these people connection business cards below this video. However, I'm sure there are lots of printers that could do this, but this is just one that I've found where they're doing exactly this, these connection business cards. So if you look below this video, you'll see a link to this website. Again, I'm not responsible for any of your transactions with them, but I do think it's a brilliant website because, as you can see here, These are just some examples of business cards where people have used it, and if you scan it, instead of sending you to a website, it adds those contact details straight to your contact details on the phone, so it goes straight into your phone book, as I was just talking about, which could be pretty powerful, couldn't it? You know, people are always losing your business card. Well, this wouldn't happen. I've also found this David Fell, the broadcaster and blogger, which is the one lower down, multicoloured, and I just believe, is that not the best business card you've ever seen? I think that works brilliantly. I think that's just an excellent example of how to use a business card. I mean, look at the Twitter. Most people say, "Oh, I'm on Twitter." Twitter.com/myname. How attractive is that one there, and what a wonderful picture of him as well. So you can have a bit of fun with business cards as well. If you're in a bit of a playful industry, you don't have to have a boring business card. It can turn people off, and that's an example of how you can use colour and make it really interesting, make it quite funny, and use a QR code. I think this positioning is important. It makes you look like a more modern, more hip organisation. That's probably more important if you're selling to younger people or funky industries, such as advertising, than if you're selling to lawyers or selling to older people. But still, I think positioning yourself as a modern operator helps in most industries. Obviously, this David Fell business card wouldn't make sense if you were a lawyer, but if you are in a more playful industry, if you had a business card like that, would that be the one that people remember? Would that be the one that people call after the conference and give you, a conversation and you can take it further? Now, there are some other solutions to this call to action problem, this 90% problem. There's text-back services where you get an immediate text, or friendly URLs, or PURLs as they're called, personalised URLs, or even 0800 numbers if you want to be old-fashioned, with recorded messages or with data capture there and when, where people can leave information. And we'll be looking at these other solutions in the coming couple of weeks in the Business Growth Club. Because this call to action problem, as I say, if 90% of the people that are interested in your services and want to inquire or want to buy don't get round to it, we really need to solve this solution. So there'll be a few more coming in the next few weeks. So in summary, a QR code, quick response code, can really address this 90% problem. Moreover, they're really easy to do. I mean, if you just do it now, go to a website, one of the ones below this video, and just get your own QR code and you'll see how easy it is. And cost effective as well. You can get it for free. It's not going to cost you any more to incorporate it on your next advertisement because you're paying for the design anyway. And if you want to sign up to one of these services because you want to take advantage of the extra services, as I say, $15 a month is not really going to break the bank. It has this incredible wide application for marketing. To say it's got a wide application is almost unfair on it. It has an enormously wide application. You can use it on just about every kind of advert, coupon, letter, envelope, stationery, any promotion you're doing. A QR code is just applicable. And as I said, there's an absolutely amazing sweet spot in this. If you tap into a boredom situation with this as a boredom solution, you will really see results skyrocket. So what are you waiting for? Get QR coding, get on these websites and start doing it and start incorporating it. As always, any questions about this recording, please send them to me and I'll be more than happy to help. Also send me any of your advertisements or letters or coupons or whatever where you incorporate a QR code and let me know the results you're getting. It would be brilliant to do a video in a few weeks' time or at the next webinar where we can say, 50 members incorporated this and they've doubled their response rates or whatever. It would be brilliant to hear your case studies, so do let me know. Now, you have another recording from us in a week's time, so between now and then, I hope you have an absolutely brilliant time in business. I hope you do go away and take action and start using these QR codes. So between now and then, have a great time, take care, and goodbye.